everybody. Welcome to Wonder World. Today, we're going to look at the Black Book of Albert Einstein. Did you know that Einstein had speech difficulty as a child? Yes, Einstein didn't start speaking until age 3 or 4. When he did, his first sentence was to complain at dinner that the soup was too hot. When asked why he hadn't spoken before then, he replied, "Because up to now everything was in order." A perfectionist, maybe? To my surprise, Einstein failed his university entrance exam. Isn't that shocking for you? Yes, in 1895, at the age of 17, Albert Einstein applied for early admission into the Swiss Federal Polytechnical School. He passed the math and science sections of the entrance exam, but failed the rest: history, languages, geography, etc. Einstein had to go to a trade school before he retook the exam and was finally admitted to ETH a year later. From an early age, Albert Einstein had a deep dislike for nationalism of any kind and considered it preferable to be a citizen of the world. When he was 16, he renounced his German citizenship and was officially stateless until he became a Swiss citizen in 1901. This is funny and weird. Part of Einstein's charm was his disheveled look. In addition to his uncombed hair, one of Einstein's peculiar habits was to never wear socks. To Einstein, socks were a pain because they often would get holes in them. Funny. Einstein had an illegitimate baby. Yes. Einstein's future wife then, Mileva, gave birth out of wedlock to a baby girl in 1902 while staying with her family in Serbia. The baby was named Lizel, and it's believed by historians that she either died in infancy, probably of scarlet fever, or was given up for adoption. In all likelihood, Einstein never saw his daughter in person. Lizel's existence wasn't widely known until 1987, and Einstein never saw her, and her fate remained unknown until when a collection of Einstein's letters were made public. Einstein married the only female student in his physics class. Mileva Maric was the only female student in Einstein's section at Zurich Polytechnic. She was passionate about math and science and was an aspiring physicist in her own right. But she gave up all those ambitions when she married Einstein and became the mother of his children. Anticipating winning a Nobel Prize, Einstein offered all his expected prize money to his first wife, Mileva Maric, so she would agree to grant him a divorce. The award added up to $32,250, which was more than 10 times the annual salary of the average professor at the time. This one is a real puzzle to ponder. Elsa, the second Mrs. Einstein, was the daughter of Albert's mother's sister, making them first cousins. They were also second cousins as Elsa's father and Albert's father were cousins. Her maiden name was Einstein. Isn't that a signature for a buck? When Einstein's marriage to Mileva Maric was failing, he gave her a list of rules for remaining together. The list demanded that she be his mate, but should expect no affection or attention from him. After a few months, she left him and 5 years later filed for divorce. That's sad. You can also view the list of conditions that he had provided to her on the window. Einstein was surprisingly candid to Elsa, the second wife, about his extramarital affairs. Einstein's wife Elsa managed his fan mail and collected $1 for an autograph and $5 for a photograph. Einstein donated the proceeds to charity. Between the mid 1920s and his emigration to the US in 1933, there were several women in his life: a Margaret, an Estella, two women called Toni and Ethel. He shared holidays with them, read books, and attended concerts. He had an affair with a Russian spy, Margarita Konenkova. He in fact mentioned in a letter about his weakness that he has never been able to stay with one woman. In 1933, the FBI began keeping a dossier on Albert Einstein shortly before his third trip to the US. This file grew up to 1,427 pages of document focused on Einstein's lifelong association with pacifist and socialist organizations. Edgar Hoover even recommended that Einstein be kept out of America by the Alien Exclusion Act. This is a connection between music and science. Einstein was a talented violinist. He began music lessons at age 5, but fell in love with music when he discovered Mozart's violin sonatas at age 13. His violin was nicknamed Lina, and he said that the most joy in his life came from his violin. The relationship between Einstein's second son and Einstein is saddening. Edward was affectionately called Tete and was diagnosed with schizophrenia and institutionalized for most of his adult life. Edward was fascinated with psychoanalysis and was a big fan of Freud. Although they corresponded in letters, Albert never saw his son again after he immigrated to the US in 1933. Edward died at the age of 55 in a psychiatric clinic. Einstein the Sailor Man, pom pom. Einstein loved to sail. His boat was called Tinef, which is Yiddish for worthless or junk, and it is equally described his sailing skills. Not only was he a lousy sailor, but he didn't even know how to swim. This photograph was taken on 72nd birthday of Einstein on March 14, 1951. Having smiled for photographers many times that day, Einstein stuck out his tongue instead. Einstein enjoyed this photo and requested UPI to give him 9 copies for personal use, one of which he signed for a reporter. On June 19, 2009, the original signed photograph was sold at auction for $74,324. Here reveals the mystery behind Einstein's brain. Do you know that Einstein's brain was pickled in a jar for 43 years? After his death in 1955, Einstein's brain was removed without permission from his family by Thomas Tallis Harvey, the Princeton Hospital pathologist who conducted the autopsy. Harvey took the brain home and kept it in a jar. He was later fired from his job for refusing to relinquish the organ. Many years later, Harvey, who by then had got permission from Hans Albert to study Einstein's brain, sent slices of Einstein's brain to various scientists throughout the world. One of these scientists was Marion Diamond of UC Berkeley, who discovered that compared to a normal person, Einstein had significantly more glial cells in the region of the brain that is responsible for synthesizing information. In another study, Sandra Whiteson of McMaster University found that Einstein's brain lacked a particular wrinkle in the brain called the Sylvian fissure. Watson speculated that this unusual anatomy allowed neurons in Einstein's brain to communicate better with each other. Other studies had suggested that Einstein's brain was denser and that the inferior parietal lobe, which is often associated with mathematical ability, was larger than normal brains. No wonder he was a wonder scientist, and I wish I had a similar brain. Thank you all for staying with me. To know more interesting and unknown facts, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Wonder World.